Who are you? And where are you going? What do you want?
Hello and welcome to the Way to Wow shows, this special edition in observance of Memorial Day. So as I've worked my way through the calendar on these special editions, I think I started them about a year ago, but this is the first Memorial Day presentation that I've done. I've talked about Veterans Day, I know for sure, and I don't think I've done Armed Forces Day yet. Looking at my calendar here, no, I haven't. But the three holidays are connected, but of course separate. So Veterans Day celebrates the service of military veterans, those who served in the military. Oops, I always forget to close my email. So we get that dinging in the background. Armed Forces Day celebrates those people who are currently serving in the military. So while Veterans Day would apply to me, Armed Forces Day would not. It would have back in the 2006 through 2012 time, or possibly even through 2022, because I was in the reserves until then. Memorial Day commemorates those who died while serving in the military. And I often see Memorial Day and Veterans Day conflated. And I understand that it's, for people who are not super familiar with the military and military culture, it's easy to conflate the two. But there are real differences. Memorial Day will never apply to me. I did not die in the military. And when hopefully it's a long time from now, as they say, I do shuffle off this mortal coil, it will be as a civilian. And so Memorial Day in particular is a special day devoted for those who, there's various ways we say it, made the ultimate sacrifice, gave their lives for their country, gave their lives so that others may live, or others may live in freedom. All of these things, I think, are appropriate ways of thinking about the day. So as has been my practice on these national holidays, I put together a short history of Memorial Day and some readings to help us think about the meaning of the day. So Memorial Day has its roots in the aftermath of the American Civil War, which lasted from 1861 to 1865. It was the deadliest conflict in United States history, with over 620,000 soldiers killed. Now, contrast that with World War II, where approximately 500,000 military personnel were killed. World War II went from 1941 to 1945, but it literally encompassed the entire globe, and yet far fewer, only 80%, less than 80% of the Americans killed in the Civil War were killed in World War II. Now, one of the main reasons was we were fighting brother against brother, and so anytime someone on either side of the battle of the war was killed, it was an American dying. So this especially for the time, unprecedented loss of life led to a grassroots movement to honor the dead, and communities across the country began holding springtime tributes to the fallen soldiers, decorating their graves with flowers and flags. The ceremonies oftentimes were spontaneous and local, but they shared common themes: mourning of the dead, decorating graves, and solemn reflections. And this gave rise to the name Decoration Day, for decoration of graves. That was the original term for this observance, and what eventually became Memorial Day. Now, it's notable that one of the earliest known observances of what came to be known Memorial Day was organized by formerly enslaved people in Charleston, South Carolina on May 1st, 1865. So just around the end of the Civil War. So after Confederate forces evacuated a prison camp, freed Black residents, reburied Union soldiers who had been killed, and then they held a parade and a ceremony to honor them as their liberators. And this is probably the first Memorial Day commemoration in United States history. At the same time, Southern Women's Memorial Associations began honoring events to honor the Confederate dead. So these observances became a tradition deeply rooted in local and regional culture, and it also laid the groundwork for broader national observances. So the sort of official founding of Memorial Day, or the first as a national holiday, I should say. So the first national call for a day of remembrance came from General John A. Logan. He was the commander of the Grand Army of the Republic. It was a Union veterans organization. And on May 5th, 1868, General Logan issued General Order number 11, designating May 30th as a day to decorate the graves of Union soldiers. I'm going to read you General Order number 11 in a few minutes so you can hear what General Logan said in this declaration. And on the first official declaration day, 5,000 people decorated the graves of 20,000 Union and Confederate soldiers at Arlington National Cemetery. So from there, by the end of the 19th century, Decoration Day had become widely observed in both the North and the South, who continued to honor their dead on separate days. After World War I, the holiday's meaning was expanded to include all Americans who died in all wars, not just the Civil War. So going back all the way to the American War for Independence. And as the focus of Memorial Days broadened, it also tended to unify the country in this national observance. So over the next few decades, um, all of the northern and southern states adopted the day, and the name Memorial Day gradually became more common, although, in fact, it wasn't recognized officially by the US government until after World War II. So in 1967, the federal government officially named the holiday Memorial Day. Now, I'll note it's it seems fantastic from my perspective. I was 7 years old when this happened, so it happened during my lifetime. And the following year, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act of 1968, which moved, among other holidays, Memorial Day from its traditional date of May 30th to the last Monday in May, creating a 3-day weekend. And indeed, that was the purpose of the Uniform Monday Holiday Act. I won't get on my soapbox about it this show, but not a favorite act of mine. And the law took effect in 1971, and it made Memorial Day a federal holiday. So, today, when we think about Memorial Day, it's marked by ceremonies at military cemeteries, memorial services, parades, and family gatherings. A central event of the day is the National Memorial Day observance at Arlington National Cemetery, where and when the president or the vice president place a wreath on the tomb of the unknown soldier. If you've never seen that particular memorial, even in a picture, there is always an honor guard marching in by the tomb of the unknown soldier. And then in 2000, the year 2000, Congress passed the National Moment of Remembrance, and it asks Americans to to pause for 1 minute at 3 p.m. local time to remember those who died in military service. And hopefully that's something that you can do. Now, since the passage of the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, Memorial Day has gone from being a day of remembrance and decorating graves to becoming kind of the unofficial start of the summer. Many businesses hold sales. I know I've been getting text messages all morning from various businesses, Memorial Day sales, and it becomes a day for barbecues and trips. And look, I mean, the commercialization of it, candidly, I'm not too fond of, but barbecues and family get-togethers, I think, are lovely, and hopefully at those get-togethers there is a few moments taken to remember what this day is really about. But there are concerns that the commercialization of Memorial Day has erased the deeper meaning of the day from our culture. And so veterans groups and educators have been working toward sort of restoring awareness of what the holiday is really about, its original purpose, through public education and commemorative events. So on this, arguably the 160th Memorial Day, I'm going to do some readings, starting with General Order number 11. This was the order that General John Logan published, declaring the sort of first national observance, if you will. Okay, so General Order number 11, Headquarters, Grand Army of the Republic, Washington, D.C., May 5, 1868. Number one, the 30th day of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land. In this observance, no form of ceremony is prescribed, but posts and comrades will, in their own way, arrange such fitting services and testimonials of respect as circumstances may permit. 2. We are organized, comrades, as our regulations tell us, for the purpose, among other things, of preserving and strengthening those kind and fraternal feelings which have bound together the soldiers, sailors, and marines who united to suppress the late rebellion. What can aid more to assure this result than by cherishing tenderly the memory of our heroic dead, who made their breast a barricade between our country and its foe? Their soldier lives were the reveille of freedom to a race in chains, and their deaths the tattoo of rebellious tyranny in arms. We should guard their graves with sacred vigilance. All that the consecrated wealth and taste of the nation can add to their adornment and security is but a fitting tribute to the memory of her slain defenders. Let no wanton foot tread rudely on such hallowed grounds. Let pleasant paths invite the coming and going of reverent visitors and fond mourners. Let no neglect, no ravages of time, testify to the present or to the coming generations that we have forgotten as a people the cost of a free and undivided republic. 3. If other eyes grow dull, and other hands slack, and other hearts cold in the solemn trust, ours shall keep it well as long as the light and warmth of life remain to us. Let us, then, at the time appointed, gather round their sacred remains and garland the passionless mounds above them with the choicest flowers of springtime. Let us raise above them the dear old flag they saved from dishonor. Let us, in this solemn presence, renew our pledges to aid and assist those whom they have left among us as a sacred charge upon a nation's gratitude, the soldiers and sailors, widow and orphan. 4. It is the purpose of the Commander in Chief to inaugurate this observance with the hope that it will be kept up from year to year while a survivor of the war remains to honor the memory of his departed comrades. He earnestly desires the public press to call attention to this order and to lend its friendly aid in bringing it to the notice of comrades in all parts of the country in time for simultaneous compliance therewith. By order of John A. Logan, Commander in Chief, N.P. Chipman, Adjutant General. Now, first of all, I hope you'll notice just the beauty of the language, the stirring words that uh, General Logan wrote, uh, compelling, urging, entreating his comrades and all the people of the United States to engage in this remembrance. And so, hopefully, today, General Order number 11 will be our call to observance and will resonate through the years and until our time has come to pass off this earth. Okay, next, I'm going to read a letter from Sullivan Ballou. So, Sullivan Ballou was a major in the Union Army, and he sent this letter to his wife, Sarah, 1 week before he was killed at the first Battle of Bull Run. Okay, so here's his letter. Headquarters, Camp Clark, Washington, D.C., July 14, 1861. My very dear wife, indications are very strong that we shall move in a few days, perhaps tomorrow. Lest I should not be able to write you again, I feel impelled to write a few lines that may fall under your eye when I shall be no more. Our movement may be one of a few days' duration and full of pleasure, and it may be one of severe conflict and death to me. Not my will, but thine, O God, be done. If it is necessary that I should fall on the battlefield for any country, I am ready. I have no misgivings about or lack of confidence in the cause in which I am engaged, and my courage does not halt or falter. I know how strongly American civilization now leans upon the triumph of government, and how great a debt we owe to those who went before us through the blood and suffering of the Revolution. And I am willing, perfectly willing, to lay down all my joys in this life to help maintain this government and to pay that debt. But, my dear wife, when I know that with my own joys I lay down nearly all of yours and replace them in this life with care and sorrows, when, after having eaten for long years the bitter fruit of orphanage myself, I must offer it as their only sustenance to my dear little children. It is weak or dishonorable, while the banner of my purpose floats calmly and proudly in the breeze, that my unbounded love for you, my darling wife and children, should struggle in fierce though useless contest with my love of country. I cannot describe to you my feelings on this calm summer night when 2,000 men are sleeping around me, many of them enjoying the last, perhaps, before that of death, and I, suspicious that death is creeping behind me with his fatal dart, am communing with God, my country, and thee. I have sought most closely and diligently, and often in my breast, for a wrong motive in this hazarding the happiness of those I loved, and I could not find one. a pure love of my country and of the principles I have often advocated before the people, and the name of honor that I love more than I fear death, have called upon me, and I have obeyed. Sarah, my love for you is deathless. It seems to bind me with mighty cables that nothing but omnipotence can break. And yet, my love of country comes over me like a strong wind and bears me irresistibly on with all those chains to the battlefield. The memories of all the blissful moments I have spent with you come crowding over me, and I feel most deeply grateful to God and you that I have enjoyed them so long, and how hard it is for me to give them up and burn to ashes the hopes of future years when, God willing, we might still have lived and loved together and seen our boys grow up to honorable manhood around us. I know I have but few claims upon divine providence, but something whispers to me, perhaps it is the wafted prayer of my little Edgar, that I shall return to my loved ones unharmed. If I do not, my dear Sarah, never forget how much I love you, nor that, when my last breath escapes me on the battlefield, it will whisper your name. Forgive my many faults and the many pains I have caused you. How thoughtless, how foolish I have oftentimes been. How gladly would I wash out with my tears every little spot upon your happiness, and struggle with all the misfortune of this world to shield you and my children from harm. But I cannot. I must watch you from the spirit land and hover near you while you buffet the storms with your precious little freight, and with sad patience till we meet to part no more. But, oh Sarah, if the dead can come back to this earth and flit unseen around those they loved, I shall always be near you in the garish day and the darkest night, amidst your happiest scenes and gloomiest hours, always, always. And if the soft breeze fans your cheek, it shall be my breath, or the cool air cools your throbbing temples, it shall be my spirit passing by. Sarah, do not mourn me, dear. Think I am gone, and wait for me, for we shall meet again. As for my little boys, they will grow as I have done, and never know a father's love and care. Little Willie is too young to remember me long, and my blue-eyed Edgar will keep my frolics with him among the dimmest memories of his childhood. Sarah, I have unlimited confidence in your maternal care and your development of their characters. Tell my two mothers I call God's blessing upon them. O Sarah, I wait for you there. Come to me and lead thither my children. Sullivan. I don't think there's a more powerful message of love by a military man to his wife, um, and a greater understanding of the tension between love of country and love of family, and how they can be reconciled. Okay. Next, I'm going to read a poem by Lawrence Binyon called For the Fallen. It was written in 1914. Lawrence Binyon was a British poet, and in September of 1914, shortly after the outbreak of World War I, he wrote this poem to honor the British soldiers who had died in the early battles. And its fourth stanza, beginning, "They shall grow not old," has become an endearing verse of remembrance, recited at memorials and services throughout the British Commonwealth. For the Fallen. With proud thanksgiving, a mother for her children, England mourns for her dead across the sea. Flesh of her flesh they were, spirit of her spirit, fallen in the cause of the free. Solemn the drums thrill, death august and royal, sings sorrow up into immortal spheres. There is music in the midst of desolation, and a glory that shines upon our tears. They went with songs to the battle, they were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. They mingle not with their laughing comrades again. They sit no more at familiar tables of home. They have no lot in our labor of daytime. They sleep beyond England's foam. But where our desires are and our hopes profound, felt as well as a spring that is hidden from sight, to the innermost heart of their own land they are known, as the stars are known to the night. As the stars that shall be bright when we are dust, moving in marches upon the heavenly plain, as the stars that are starry in the time of our darkness, to the end, they remain. So that poem was published in the London Times in 1914, a newspaper with a huge readership, and as a result became very well known again throughout the British Commonwealth. Okay, next I'm going to read perhaps the most famous tribute to fallen soldiers, certainly in the United States, the Gettysburg Address, delivered by President Abraham Lincoln on November 19th, 1863, at the dedication of the Soldiers' National Cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, following one of the bloodiest battles of the American Civil War. In just 272 words, Lincoln redefined the purpose of the war, emphasizing national unity, equality, and the enduring principles of democracy. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these honored dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth. I think it's as fitting a tribute of all who we mourn and remember on Memorial Day to understand that in each war, many of those who died were dying for those same principles that Abraham Lincoln outlines in his speech. And I hope on this Memorial Day, we will, as Abraham Lincoln suggested, be highly resolved that the dead whom we mourn today shall not have died in vain. We need to recommit ourselves to the principles that soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, merchantmen have died for this country over the centuries. Okay. Next, I'm going to read In Flanders Field. It was written by Canadian Army physician Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae after he presided over the funeral of a fallen friend during World War I. The poem quickly became one of the most famous war memorial verses, and it symbolized the sacrifice of soldiers and inspired the use of the red poppy as a remembrance emblem. So, In Flanders Field. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row. They mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders field. So I think a short but very powerful thought about the passing of the torch as Colonel McCrae describes it, from one generation or one unit of soldiers to the next, from one generation to the next. Now, a Memorial Day, in my opinion, wouldn't be complete without a remembrance from God. In this case, I'm going to read Psalm 46. And I'm reading it from the Art Scroll Tanakh, which is another name for the Hebrew Bible. It's the language is not quite as flowery as the King James version, but I think it's more understandable to the contemporary mind. For the conductor, by the sons of Korach, on the Alamos, a song. God is a refuge and strength for us, a help in distress, very accessible. Therefore, we shall not be afraid when the earth is transformed and at mountains collapse in the heart of the seas. When its waters raged and are muddied, mountains quake in his majesty. Selah. A river, its streams will gladden the city of God, the most sacred of the dwellings of the Most High. God is in his midst. It shall not falter. God will help it towards morning. Nations are in turmoil, kingdoms totter. He has raised his voice, the earth dissolves. God, master of legions, is with us. A stronghold for us is the God of Jacob. Selah. Go and see the works of God, who has wrought devastation in the land. He causes wars to cease to the end of the earth. He will break the bow and cut the spear. He will burn chariots in fire. Desist and know that I am God. I shall be exalted among the nations. I shall be exalted upon the earth. God, master of legions, is with us. A stronghold for us is the God of Jacob. Selah. As the Psalms have historically done, they bring us comfort in our mourning. Some of you watching this may have lost a relative in war, and your mourning may be deeper than others who have not. For myself, I never lost someone I was close to in a war, but when I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan, one of my chaplain colleagues, an Army chaplain, was deployed to, I believe it was Afghanistan. His convoy was hit by an IED, and it stopped to take care of the wounded. And he was giving comfort to a wounded Marine, or wounded soldier, I mean, and a sniper shot him and killed him. And he had a lovely family, 2 little boys. They were at a Passover celebration just a few months before he was killed. And so to my chaplain colleague, I devote this Memorial Day observance. So I want to leave you with this final thought by someone who, if you've watched any of my shows, you know I am a student of General George Patton. I've studied his life and how he raised himself from a child with a child plagued by dyslexia and seemingly unable to learn, to being arguably, and certainly in my mind, the greatest field commander of World War II. And General Patton said, "It is foolish and wrong, and it is foolish and wrong to mourn the men who died. Rather, we should thank God that such men lived." And indeed, while we mourn our dead, we should be in absolute awe that men like Major Sullivan lived, were willing to give up a happy life with their family, were willing to give up comforts, were willing to risk the battlefield, knowing that death could very well find them, in order to keep our nation free, in order to fight for the freedom of our allies, and in order to give our enemies a chance to reform themselves in a vision and in a way that could potentially help their people to be free, like we did with Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan most recently. So I wish you a meaningful Memorial Day. I hope you will take a few minutes with your families, unless you happen to be watching this with your families, to observe this day. And I thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully we'll see you later on in the week.